Green light, green light. Go, go, go.
Right then, here we are. Good evening, he's in chat. Derek and Adam, good evening, guys. I've got a few viewers, that's alright. It says in surprise voice, a few viewers. Cool, so this is it. SimSeniors Group 2 final round at Spa. So yeah, race 10. And a bit like last night, it's pretty close. I put the top 10 for each category, the Pro and the Pro-Am, on this opening screen just so we can see it. So okay, Sandbagger Howells has got quite a chunky lead in Pro, which probably isn't going to get closed up unless he has an absolute mare. But then in the Pro-Am, it's super close. Kurt Sullivan, Glenn Parkinson, Roger, Benny, Stephen, all these people with double points on offer. It gives you a race win with pole and fastest lap, gives you like 130 points. So yeah, it's massive. It could be a big deal. So I'll have to see how this pans out. It's a 1 hour race, which, you know, I mean, I know it's tiring for the guys on track, and you know, I want to respect that, and I understand that they're going to be working really hard out there as are their virtual tyres. Also, so am I. I got really knackered last night commentating on Group 1. So I've made sure I've got a nice can of Brewdog Hazy Jane to keep me going for this one tonight, which I won't have yet. I'll probably crack into that when we get halfway through the race, just to help the rest of the race go along easily. I didn't move on to Pringles tonight. Decided Pringles were against my better judgment, as I've already eaten enough bad stuff today. Okay. So yeah, that's my treat for the evening. But hey, enough about me. So there we go. So I just talked about the Pro-Am category. In the Pro category, it just flicks to that. Steve Howell's there with a chunky lead, like 80-point lead. But then between Cutler, Bailey, Giles, and to some extent Trowbridge, North, Hopkins, they're all potentially in the mix to get on the podium as well, because it's super close. And there's just so many points on offer. So just let me get back to game window. Oh, we're off. Cool. And I've got it on auto cam at the moment. I'll flick to specific drivers. Who's got out ahead of everyone else is McKillop, isn't it? Right, let's jump to the live view, the full screen. So yeah, cool. And yeah, Wilson in that lovely livery Porsche, a bit like one you run for a bit, Adam, the one you did for yours, for when you ran that Polka, wasn't it? Who's abusing who in chat then? Paul Hamby, good evening, sir. Nice to see you. It's got Derek there. Dave Marsh, well, yeah. Good stuff. I'll let you guys carry on in chat. Can't type in chat because I need to have a YouTube window open. I've not managed to do it in Streamlabs yet. Don't have the talent to sort it out in Streamlabs, but yeah, I'll work it out eventually. Cool. So what are we looking at for Spa? Well, we all know Spa. A lot of you know it a lot better than others. Have driven it a lot in the last few weeks of the endurance races and what have you. But super long lap. Target for this group, I think, 218s, low 218s in quali. Saw some of the guys in practice running 218.2. I think Steve Howells is. I've seen him, I think, on practice server running 17s maybe. I'm not sure. Anyway, but yeah. So just looking at who we've got on track right now. Give me a second. I'll get back to live. Full timing list there as well, so we can see that on our screens. And I'll take it off auto cam now, and I'll focus with who's heading up the field just here at the moment. It's McKillop we got out first. Right, in the lovely Hello Kitty livery. Doesn't look like he was out first. Who's 316? Is Mr. Bailey. There's a few yellow flags going on here as well. I won't focus on those right now because it's only the install lap. But okay, yep. So Bailey's crossed the line first. He's doing the first flying lap, followed closely by Wilson. Yeah, I don't know what to show McKillop on the timing boards is out there in front of everyone else because he's not. But anyway, that's where we are. 916 is trying to come out of the pits right at the start of everyone's flying lap. Is that Anthony Flack? Hopefully he's not going to have cause anyone any disruption. I wouldn't think so. He's slowing down. So we'll just stick with Bailey for this first lap. So yeah, I think we're going to see low 18s, 218s, which is fast from a few of these guys, proper fast. I'm very pleased to see in the list of names Mr. Parkinson, car 77, worried he wasn't going to make it, I think, for quali. Might make it for the race, but not quali, but looks like he's made it in time to get on track. Maybe not the prep time he'd want as well. But the reason I say that is because in the Pro-Am category, he's sitting in second place by only 1 point. So it would have been a shame for him not to be able to make it for this final race this week. I think he's, maybe not this evening, he's had the chance to do the practice time, but I think he's put the time in this week, so it would have been gutting if he hadn't made it on track. So good work, Glenn, making it for this race. Mr. Stark is turned up in chat. You were noted by your absence last night. Didn't hear from you, but it's nice to see you back on form. And Thomas as well in chat. Had a great race last night, an absolute stunner in Group 1. Really good battle with Craig Holmes for the Pro-Am Championship in that group. And Holmes literally went right to the last corner with Holmes winning it, as many of you watching know because you're in that group. So that's fantastic work. And Mr. Cook, we don't talk about last night, Mr. Cook in chat, so we'll move on from there. But good to see you all in chat. Thanks for popping in. Don't know, you might be group watching it elsewhere, chatting, slagging each other off, but that's it's all good. Right, so who's putting in the early running? We've got first coming over the line to set time. Bailey comes in with a 2:19.8 on his first flying lap. Wilson does a 2:20.6. Who else is near the line here or over the line? Divine with a, what did he get? 2:22.1. So we're in the Cutler's just gone provisional pole 2:19.7. So everyone getting their banker laps in now. Track is optimum already, as we hope it would be. So there's no reason you can't go out there and put in the best lap right now, if that's your thing. Adam, I told you we don't mention last night with Cookie in the chat. Them's the rules. He's probably twitching. He's going to have PTSD. So yeah, just a reminder of sort of guys battling in this championship. So in our Group 2, Steve Howes has got a chunky lead over everyone else in P1 at the moment, 428 points. Justin Cutler, who's just put in that provisional pole lap, has just been outdone by Phil Giles actually. But Justin Cutler on 344, Bailey just behind 342, Phil Giles 337. So the guys placed P1, 2 and 3 at the moment in quali are the guys battling for second and third slots on a podium, potentially the win if Steve Howes doesn't have a moderately good race. Let's put it that way. Terry Trowbridge, a chunk behind, so about 50 points behind that then. It's Terry Trowbridge, Alex North, Bruce Hopkins, Anthony Flack, Andrew McKillop. They're all sort of between 270, 250 points. And that pretty much rounds at the top 10. Peter Martin and Chris Wilson, both on 215, Andy Trickett on 212. So, and that's with the penalty points already taken into account. So that's the actual points that we should be seeing. I know we're going to lose the worst 2 races, but I think those are already dropped from the points as well. So I would expect it to pan out that way. So it's all good. I'm just checking the chat in case anything's working or not working. Let me focus on somebody else. Let's focus on Chris Wilson at the moment. See what he's put in. 2:20.3. Pretty good lap there. Martin's on a flyer at the moment. He's 0.8 up on his best. Pop up to Helicam there. It's gone P6 to P5. 2:20.5 there for him. Cutler's on a good lap as well. He's just started. No, he was on a good lap. Started his next lap. Who else is well up on their relative that we can pop onto? Let's have a little bit look at Roger. He looks like he's well up on his last lap. So hoping to push himself a bit further up in P10. Okay, he's P10 at the moment. And shout out for Brandon who's made it back tonight. He's had a lot of problem with his arm, with his tendons in his arm, which he's had to, it's all pretty gross, he's had to have sorted and reattached, I think. So he's a bit keen, isn't he? I mean, he's literally just had work done to make sure that they do reattach, and he's back out on the track. I told him to turn his force feedback down and hopefully stay out of trouble. Maybe he won't injure himself further, but good for him for making it for the final race. That's really good. So good on him for making it in. Wilson's on a flyer at the moment. He's nearly a second up on his last lap, so everybody putting the rubber down on the track. Looks like everyone's going a fair bit quicker. Phil Giles still fastest at the moment with a 2:19.1, but I reckon there's some seriously faster times than that in this group. People get there. a foot down. Steve Howes is going to be up there. In fact, he's gone up there. He's just taken provisional pole with the 2:18.7 on his first real flyer. As predicted, I don't know if you said, maybe I misread it, but yeah, getting into the 2:18s before everyone else. There's some people very close though in the low 2:19s. Let's just see what they can do. Chris's previous lap, good lap was 2:20.3, but this looks a fair chunk quicker, nearly a second quicker, so that puts him up to P4. It's good work there. It's only 5 seconds left to quality. It goes so fast, doesn't it? It just goes so fast. So at the moment, we've got Howes, Giles, Bailey and Cutler, Wilson and Flaxo, and it's nicely parked. So pretty much what you'd expect based on the positions in the championships as well. So I'm not used to reading the chat. Turns out I can't read and talk at the same time. It's a skill I obviously don't have, which could let me down a little bit on the commentary front. But yeah, try and stick with it tonight. Who else is on a good one at the moment? Howes is up on his previous best lap. Obviously he wants to secure that if he possibly can. But let's have a little bit of a look further down the pack. P15 Benny Heim. And I'll also talk about the Pro and the Pro-Ams in a second. Benny Heim half a second up on his previous best. But his previous best, so we're into the 221s, 222s down, sort of P13 down through to 20. 22 on the track tonight as well. So good turnout, very similar to the size, in fact exactly the same turnout as Group 1 last night. What's he gonna get? Oh, he's lost it all on the final 2 corners, so I cursed him by going to watch. Okay. Howell's absolutely flying. He's another quarter of a second up on his previous pole lap, 2:18.7. Just see if he gets through the bus stop in a tidy manner. It's going to be, what, mid 2:18 this one. 2:18.4. It's we've seen him on Mondays in the future, won't we? Yeah, definitely. Okay. And who else on track is putting in a good effort at the moment? And Flax on a... Oh, he's got traffic though, hasn't he? I can't drive and flash, you know that as well, Cookie. It was the start of the end of my career, wasn't it? Brands Hatch trying to flash you and then forgetting to actually use the brake pedal. Just cursed. Cursed. How's it looking on this? Even though he's followed... Oh, he's gone off, hasn't he? That's got to be... Yeah, he's gone invalid. That's such a shame because he was over half a second up on his best. But Martin here, he's a lot up on his previous best. He's had a very good lap. But he's still in P7. Didn't get him any further up the field, even though he's 7/10 quicker. 1.4 off Steve Howell's pace. But if we look at P2 downwards, we've got a couple of minutes left now, which is Giles. His best is a 2:19.1, and then we've got a chunk of drivers, another 6 drivers in the 2:19s. Then from sort of P8 downwards, then it's 2:20 and below for that. Giles, as much as he's up behind someone else, he is nearly a second up on his previous best, so this is a stunning lap if he gets it in. Jeez, gone P1, 2:18.3 with 2 minutes to go. And Steve is out there now putting in a lap, so he's going to have to pull it out of the bag if he wants to get the pole off Phil Giles. They've been so close, haven't they, in quite a few races now. That's fantastic lap from Giles there, really impressive. And what have we got from Parkinson? Because I know Parkinson and Giles are fighting. So, whoa, he's gone there. Tokyo Drift. And he's going to conveniently park it at the pit exit. That's fine, he'll be in the pits. Right, Steve Howell's on another flyer at the moment, but I'm going to go to McKillop here in P8 in the Hello Kitty livery, just because it's Hello Kitty, and possibly because he's 6/10 up on his previous best at the moment, and he's not even halfway around the lap. So we'll just focus on that. So there's not many ahead of him at the moment that are on particularly strong laps. Parkinson looks like actually on cue. I mention it, and he's out 4/10 up on his previous best. So think he really needs as much as God no, sorry, it's Parkinson and who is it that's battling? Kurt Sullivan are battling for the. Just gonna have a look. Yeah, so it's Sullivan, Parkinson, and Roger Dismukes that are 1, 2, and 3 in the Pro-Am category. So let's just talk about that for a second as we watch McKillop coming around. He's 7 tenths up on his previous best, 8, 9 tenths up now, so this could be a very good lap for him. Currently P8. He's going to push it up a couple of spaces, surely. No, he's P8, unless I missed something there, but he's P8. Parkinson just coming around to finish his lap in the Minions livery. 7 tenths up nearly on his previous best. Puts him up to P9. So yeah, there's a bit of a chunk there, isn't there? Because P7 and 8, 1.5 off, and then it jumps to 2 seconds off Giles and Howell's pace. But we're nearly out of time in quali. Who's out there actually putting in a stunner at the moment? Cutler's out there on a 218.9. He's about a tenth up. So far, he's only just started that lap, so he's P4 still. Anyone else nearing the end of their lap that we can see? No, everyone's in the same position on track, similar. Cutler's putting in another lap in P4 at the moment. Was it 218.9? He's trying to beat 218.8 of Bailey, who's just ahead of him. Obviously, Giles and Howell's on the 218.3, 218.4. I don't think they're going to get beaten now. That's pretty much where things stand. And Steve Howell's not on another lap, so he'll start P2. Giles will start P1. Cutler's still no. I thought he pulled out the lap then, but no, he's 4 tenths up on his previous best. This could potentially, you can get another tenth on this. It could put him front row. Again, he's sort of 37.37 now. Okay, so let's just get onto basic here so you can actually see the actual gaps. Yeah, he's fluctuating between 3 and 4 tenths up on his best, so it's just literally going to come down to what you can do onto the back straight through the bus stop, isn't it? Donny Muffins. Donny Muffins in the house. Whoop whoop. Steve Devine's out there doing a second up on his previous best, which is good, man. P17 at the moment. But I'll stick with Cutler. But you can see currently P4. He's lost the time, hasn't he, onto the back straight, so I think that's after you hammer it late on the brakes to make that back into the bus stop. Looks a bit deep there. So it looks good on the clock now. He's going to lose all of that now coming to the line. He's going to maybe go at one place. Maybe. No. Stays P4. Second row though. Second row. It's a good start. Okay, and the only other person still was on a lap. Chris Wilson, but he doesn't improve. So he starts P5, Cutler P4. So, yeah. Let's look down what we've got and where people are. Yeah, so we can see it on screen now anyway. I'll just leave that up for a second till they go to the grid. So yeah, it's good quality. Like we said, the low 218s was sort of the target, at least for the top two. But honourable mentions, obviously, to P3 and 4, both in the 218s as well. And Cutler in the Aston, still proving the power that it has got, because he had best Sector 1 time as well. So he was purple in Sector 1 in P4. So yeah, it just shows you the potential he had there to get on the front row, but unfortunately Sector 3 did him. And it didn't quite work out for him there. So, yeah, Giles and Howell's on a front row. As we talked about, Howell's got a significant lead in the championship. Needs to just keep his powder dry this evening. Stay out of trouble as best he can. I know that's commentator's curse. Oh, why did I say that? Why did I say it? To the point where if Phil Giles is significantly competitive or faster or side by side with him, discretion's a better part of valor for Steve Howells, isn't it? Otherwise, he risks losing all of the potential points there. Giles mops up all the double points, 120 odd points. He will leapfrog Steve Howells by a significant amount. So Steve needs to get round and needs to get round probably in the top 10 to secure the championship. Let's look at it that way. Maybe let's say as long as he finishes P8 or above. And then we've got the guys chasing him. Let's just go back to the starting soon screen, because then we can see Cutler, Bailey, Giles in particular are a chunk of points behind him, like 80 points behind plus. But as we've said, it's 120 odd for the win, 130 for the win. And Giles has already got an extra point for the pole position. So yeah, he's just clawing it back. And then in the Pro-Am category, let's have a look at that. So if we look in the championship, where they are, Sullivan, Parkinson, Roger, Disputes, Benny, Heim. And in the qualification, Parkinson, actually, good man, he put it on pole for the Pro-Am category. Good man. But Kurt Sullivan right behind him, and they're very close on pace as well. They're a 10th on pace. So, oh no, they're a few tenths on pace. I'm reading the wrong one. So Kurt, who's leading, but only by a point there. In fact, that gap's just closed up, hasn't it? Because Glenn Parkinson just got a point for pole in category as well. So they're on identical points in the Pro-Am. So we better be watching that closely as well this evening as well. On track, we got Parkinson, Sullivan, Heim, Murray and Devine, all the Pro-Ams sitting P9 to 13. Alex North is in P14 in the Pro category, sort of sitting in the middle of the Pro-Ams. And then Roger P16, Trevor Evans Roger P15, Trevor Evans 16, Brandon Fuller's put it P17, Savoy 18, and then we got Keith Moore, Ian Roke, Cara Payne, Dave Centre. That's 22 drivers this evening. Let's get back on track for the install lap. In fact, no, I'm going to leave it on there just so you can see those points again, just for the install lap. Boom. Let's have a look at some liveries. Yeah, let's have a look at some liveries. Cool. So Phil Giles there in the old Marlborough livery, looking sweet on P1 with Steve Howells up next to him, P2. That's such a terrible camera. Okay. Bailey there in the minimalist livery. Either that's intentional or it's not on Awesome properly because I updated Awesome. Cutler next to him in P4 in a very authentically traditional looking Aston livery. Wilson in Porsche livery that I still think is superb. Never go wrong with red and blue. Flack in the matching Marlborough livery on that Ferrari. They're very similar, aren't they? And then we've got Martin McKillop in the Hello Kitty. Parkinson is in pole in the Pro-Ams, but they're all together. So next to Parkinson in P10 is Kurt Sullivan, then Benny Heim, Paul Murray, Steve Devine. They're all very close there. So again, Parkinson at the moment, between him and Kurt Sullivan, technically at the moment, whoever finishes first on tracks, bar any stewards' decisions, whoever finishes first on track between those two takes the championship. It is that close. Roger saying earlier he was going to go full send on that one, I think, wasn't he? Or am I just joking about that? It was a strategic, professionally done, low risk send, I think he was talking about. We got a full lap to install at Spa, so you got time to go and make a full 3-course meal, maybe a slow cooked dinner, you know, very low heat, maybe some lamb shank or something. Slow cooked pork probably. Certainly enough time for me to run across the Tesco's and actually get some Pringles, which, you know, I'm kind of regretting I didn't do now. Feel like I'm missing out. Barbecue. Although no, do you know, I'm feeling like a bit of cheeky prawn cocktail this evening. Could be the right choice. Not at all distracted by snack foods. Right, jumping back on track so I can see the liveries. It's good livery in it. I think that's one of Mr. Hamby's efforts, the Minions one there. Curtly, very, very shiny Ferrari there. Benny Heim P3 in class in the Aston Martin with the big silver stripes. Silver or white? White, silver thing on the Aston. Still carries livery as well, that car, doesn't it? Paul Murray in a Macca. Devine in a Ferrari. And Alex North kind of a little bit out of position for his class. He's got 5 Pro-Am drivers ahead of him. So if he wants to get any more points in this race, he's got to overtake 6 people. To sort of get it into perspective, and he's got to break into the top 10. He's got to get to P8, and then just behind there, Roger in his black flag green livery, which he's I think will be retiring after this race. He's already lining up his new livery for next season. Trevor Evans in the Hare and the Tortoise livery, still a classic, absolute classic. Look at that, what a beauty. That is a great livery. Brandon Fuller just behind the orange Macca. Alan Southwell in the white Macca. And we got Keith in the Doddy livery, the Doddy Foundation livery, which I think he did this week. So worth a shout, that one. So it's obviously something he's pretty passionate about, and worth putting it on the screen for a second. Give it a bit of airtime. There we go. Sporting the tartan there. Right, we are coming up to the end of the install lap. A couple of corners to go, and then we will be green. Ian Rope there in the AMG. Payne in the Audi. Now the Audi, as we saw last night, can still go really well here. As much as people say it doesn't like curbs, it doesn't seem to mind Spa curbs too much. So it can fly here, and we know it's got awesome straight line speed as well. I think what we're going to do for the start of the race is we're going to get to Helicam, probably focus on P4, so I'll focus on Cutler P4, 3 Ferraris ahead of him, so we got the famously slow starting Aston with 3 famously slow starting Ferraris ahead of him. I'll jump back if there's significant action to follow. I don't want to focus on the carnage too much because I don't want to miss the racing. Yeah, Adam, get your popcorn out for Eau Rouge and Radion. Here we go then. Everyone's looking pretty well lined up, at least in the top 10. And stray too far to the middle of the track there, Mr. McKillop. We're green, everyone's off. There's no DTs yet. How are we looking through Eau Rouge and Radion? Oh, Wilson had to go up on the curb to avoid Cutler there. Luckily, he did so, and he's back in the slip. Looks to me that the top 3 are clear. McKillop's taken Martin on that first run up the hill. Let's just stay on this view for now, just to see what actually transpires for the first view. There's some late braking there, super late. Oh, this is going to be carnage. Oh no, that's terrible. That's Benny Heim up the inside, braking way too... Was it Benny? Oh, I can't work it out now, but braking way too late. Just going to go back 15 seconds actually and see how that transfers. Yeah, he had to pull out of it onto the grass. And then he's just a missile, isn't he? I mean, he's not... It's well known that the green stuff isn't as good for braking as the grey and the black stuff. I think we all know that. So yeah, that wasn't how anybody wanted that to go. Just have a quick look at the front. So yeah, a few guys there really suffering for that, and 2 innocent victims. There has been a murder. I can't do the accent. I'm not going to do the accent. You can do it yourself. You chat if you're in chat somewhere else. You can do your very best. There's been a murder accent. Ant Flack also has had an incident back here. What is going on? Just nip back a second. Oh, he's got tag round. That was by. I can't see who that was by, but he got tag round, so it's unfortunate there. He's got pushed back, and he's right at the back now in P22. So yeah, a little bit of lap 1 carnage there. Not great to see. You don't love to see it. Yeah, Colin, you don't have to work too hard at the accent, to be fair. You should be alright with it. Yeah, that was carnage, wasn't it? It's a bit of a shame. What can we say? Everyone's still running. Find the positives, guys. It's the way to look at it. But yeah, that was full-on murder. I mean, it was unfortunate. I don't think there was obviously no intent there. It just missed the braking mark completely. And as always, the same, isn't it? When you miss your braking, there's never an opportunity to go wide. You always have to go inside. It happens a lot. Certainly happens going up the hill here. So yeah, we've double murder. It's a double homicide this evening, chaps. More like a sort of CSI murder rather than a Taggart one, I think. Who is right? Okay, I'm looking at Bailey, and Cutler has got the drag on him up the hill. As told you, he's got first. He was fastest sector 1 in quali. Oh, there's a battle. There's a battle for the lead there. It's close. Steve Howe's really looking to push Giles, and like I said, really Giles has got to think about his position. If Steve's really giving him a lot of bother, I mean, yeah, having a car between you and the guy behind in a championship isn't a bad thing, but if you're under a heck of a lot of pressure, it might not be the worst thing to let him go and then just stay with him if you can stay with him. That is if Steve's got the pace. I mean, they were both the same in quali, but at the moment it looks like Steve's got the car under him a little bit better than Phil has. P3's got his own worries, hasn't he? Bailey. Cutler looking pretty spicy in the Aston at the moment. Certainly through the first sector. I'm not sure how good he is in sector 3 though. He doesn't seem to quite get his exit right here onto the main straight. And again, he's, what is he, a few tenths behind now? Don't need that view. Just get back onto that one. Under braking that Aston, always deep, but looked really good in under braking. Very close under braking. McKillop, oh, and Parkinson having a right old ding dong just here. McKillop, Parkinson probably it's just taken another place as well. Yeah, it's taken Southwell as well, but Parkinson probably best just focusing on his own race because he doesn't need to be battling with McKillop. McKillop's in pro category. Parkinson is in the pro-ams, but like we said, he's not had. He was wrapped up in the incident at the start, wasn't he? So he's got it all to do. Actually, let's have a little look at Glenn because, yeah, he was up there in quali, had a great quali, but he's been really unfortunate at the start of the race. So his main competitor, who he was battling with and needed to finish ahead of, is 8 places ahead of him in P6, and that's Kurt Sullivan, and he's got Divine, Murray, Roger ahead of him as well in class, but he's got a lot of people to find. He's got a lot of pace to find to get through this field. I suppose his hope might be that some of the pros are able to pull him up to the leaders in his class, but at the moment, let's be honest, it's not looking too good. I know it's an hour race, a heck of a lot can happen, and if he bides his time, he might be able to work his way back up through the field. At the moment though, he can't afford to be back here mixed up in the mess, because running 226s is not what he needs when his main competitor's running 23s, 24s race pace at the moment. So yeah, it's not looking so good. Bailey's just put in the fastest lap, 2:21.2, which is good, but then all three of the front three are putting in very similar times. So yeah, there's really not a lot in that. Glenn, I don't know if he's going to bide his time or he's really going to push on. Obviously, he's going to be really frustrated that he got obviously wrapped up in a bit of an incident on the first lap, whereas Kurt did not and got through it with no trouble. That to me looks Yeah, I'm not quite sure there. So he's just got past Alan. Alan's probably not going to fight too hard on that. They're not in the same class. Great livery. But yeah, he's got it all to do now. I mean, it's a crap situation for him, but P13 and he needs to get up to P6. But look at the timings there. So him to Sullivan, do you know, they're all in front of him. They're all not far in front of him. Their gaps are about a second to each driver in front, right the way up to P6. So if he can get his pace, if he can get back on his pace, it's not the end of the world for him. It's just at the moment, that's not an ideal situation for him to be in. He's got, 4 seconds up to McKillop, but then after that, everyone's pretty much line astern. Let's have a little look at Bailey. Still fighting off Cutler at the moment. Again, Cutler looking really pacey. But obviously hasn't found a way past just yet. Howells has got ahead of Giles, and I totally missed it. Anyone pointed that out in chat? Ansel, you missed the overtake, you muppet. No, it's not there. But yeah, Steve Howell's getting past. Whether it was he had to do so in a aggressive way, or whether Phil realised that's not really his fight this evening. Either way, Steve Howell's is just a second ahead of Phil Giles. Phil Giles doing what we thought he might do, which is staying pretty close behind at the moment. He's still within a second, and crucially, he is creating a bigger gap to Bailey in third, because Bailey is obviously looking in his mirrors as much as he is forward to fight off Cutler. Chris Wilson lurking behind there in P5, probably just waiting for an opportunity. But yeah, it's Bailey's on a good lap here actually. It's not an insurmountable gap to get back up to Giles and Howells at this point in the race. It's only just under 3 seconds. So yeah, let's see if he can get his pace, and if Cutler doesn't distract him with too many Larry moves, then they can both potentially still be catching up with the front two. See if they can work together on that. I doubt if it's quite that organised, but let's see what they do. Steve Howells though really putting the hammer down now. He's 2:19.5, and Phil Giles' best race pace at the moment is 2:20.1. So Steve Howells pulled out half a second on that lap. Chris is a slacker. He needs to pull his finger out, doesn't he, Adam? So yeah, 4 laps done now. 2:19.5, as I said, fastest lap so far. So yeah, that's the thing. I think I don't think I've ballsed up the livery, Colin. I think it's wrong on Olsen, because yeah, I was expecting the Bailey's livery, unless it's been like copyright struck, but I doubt that's the case. So yeah, I was expecting to see that too, but clearly not there. I've just got I don't even know if that's carbon black. I can't. Yeah, it's carbon black, isn't it? That's not got anything on it, so that's just a broken livery. Look at that, fighting for P3 and can't even see any shiny livery on him. It's a shame. Really working the back end of that car at the moment. You can see the slip as he came out of the corner there. But I just think he's doing everything he can to try and break the toe to Cutler, and at the moment he's doing it. He's got 0.8, and I think in ACC it's 0.7, isn't it, where you start to get the toe? Correct me in chat if I'm wrong. Brooks had a bit of an incident. He's dropped back a few seconds back here. Let's just have a quick look. What happened to? He's just had an off track there. Let's see what it was. Don't know if he got a little nip. Oh no, he just went round by himself there, didn't he? Went round by himself. Got back to Howells. That gap looks like it's opening up a bit now. Yeah, Phil's not able to stay with him. 2.1 back now, but crucially for Phil Giles, the gap to Bailey behind him is 2.6. Bailey's still with mirrors full of Larry Aston Martin. Just looks really good under brakes, doesn't it, the Aston, which is a surprise, because I thought the Ferrari was superior in every way. OP even. I haven't mentioned it all night. The OP Ferrari, which is no longer OP, right? Centre's just past Conrad Payne on track. I won't jump back to that just yet though. It's a good battle here. We'll stick with this for a little bit. And whilst we're in the middle of the race, we're putting a cheeky plug for tomorrow night's multi-class. So we're going to do them as... Oof! Who is that? That's Giles. He's had a mare. What's happened here? Phil Giles was running P2. Oh no, it's going to be Eau Rouge and Radion, isn't it? It's come through Eau Rouge. Oh, he's lost the back end. Oh, he's completely walled it. Oh, that is disastrous for him. Absolutely disastrous. Surely that's he's got to get around the entire lap before he pits, so otherwise he's just going to lose a lap. The car is not steering. That car is not going straight in any way, is it? I mean, let's have a little bit of a look inside the car. Yeah, that just a very... Oh no, that is a very, very unhappy Ferrari. So he's got to drag that thing round to the pits and take the stop. That's pretty much... Okay, it's a 1 hour race, but you can't think that's going to end well from there. That is a disaster for Phil Giles. Nightmare coming up through Radion, and just lost the back end. And as usually happens, you drift, you try and correct it, snaps back straight into the wall. Super high speed front impact, so massive amounts of damage. Needs to just drag it back to the pit. Meanwhile, let's get back to the battle for... yeah, so what that does do, of course, is it brings Glenn Parkinson slightly closer to the top of the table, but that isn't the end of it in any way, is it? Because at the moment, if you look at silver category, it was Sullivan, Parkinson and Dismukes were all there. Benny Himes, Steve Devine. And if we look at the position at the moment, it's still Sullivan. He's running P5, so he's got a clear advantage at the moment in the championship. Roger Dismukes at the moment looks like he might jump third and get up to second. He might get up to silver podium, silver in the championship. Let's have a quick look at Roger there. He's running P8. He's a couple of places behind Sullivan. Although, there you go, Giles has just made it into the pit at the end of that disaster lap for him. So yeah, he's going to be fuming, no doubt, after the efforts he made to make it. Yeah, he was just running so well, wasn't he? It's smart choice as well, getting in the way of the house. Roger nearly gets a nick there, but McKillop thinks better of it, backs out of it. Roger left the door wide open though, so kind of lucky not to have been shown the exit stage left at that point. I think he was quite fortunate. So the battle of the Porsches up the hill. Meanwhile, you got Murray in quietly sneaking up on both of them in the Macca as well. Devine's had a big off as well. Oh, he's done the same, hasn't he? Exactly the same. Let's have a look at this. He was running 5th in class in P13. Sorry, he wasn't. He was actually higher than P13. Yeah, back end gone. Yeah, okay, it's slightly more skatey than Phil Giles is off, but no less damaging for the car, I wouldn't think. Looks like he's got no top end on that whatsoever. And will it go around corners? Not really. Will it go over? And it goes left a bit, more than right. It'd be good for ovals, but no, he needs to get back to the pit as well. So he's going to be pitting that car. There's no point carrying on in that state. So yeah, Devine dropping out of the championship hunt as well. Where was he there? He wasn't too far. He was P5 with a potential to get up there and win championship as well. So at the moment, Kurt Sullivan's sitting pretty because his main competitors, Parkinson, Dismukes, Hyman, Devine, are all suffering. The gaps aren't particularly close at the moment, so let's just have a look at a few other drivers on track. So yeah, Sullivan sitting pretty, first in class in Pro-Am and P5 on track with a very handy lead to North in P6. Big gap there as well. So barring Eau Rouge, Radion, Overconfidence, he's in a very good position to take the championship in the Pro-Am category. Looking further up, in fact, let's just look down the field from there. Roger Dismukes at this point in the race is looking like he's going to leapfrog. He's going to jump up to P2 championship. I can't work out the rest because I used to be good at maths. when I was 18. I'm not 18 now. McKillop again, just really taking a tight line there and scaring Roger. But Roger's still looking all right at the moment. Murray just a couple of places behind P3 in class. Parkinson P4 in class, and courtesy of the incidents ahead of him is now only 5 spots off Sullivan, but the gaps, they be big now. So we've got big gap back to 7.5 second gap back to North, 3 seconds to Roger Dismukes, very close to McKillop as we can see on track. I think even I can tell you that's probably 0.1 of a second. Then Murray, and then Parkinson is a big gap behind Murray as well. So he's got to really get his foot down, catch up with Murray, and he might have a chance of getting up there. But he's really dependent now on Sullivan making a mistake, which he's got a lot of space around him. Gap in front is 5 seconds, gap behind him is 8. So he's going to have a very lonely, but probably not stressful time for the rest of this race. I won't follow that though because it's not so interesting. Looks like Doddy's the Doddy sponsored Audi's had a bit of an off there. Oh, I didn't go back quite far enough, but yeah, Keith's put it in the barrier there. How's it steering? Looks like it still goes straight. That's good. Maybe you won't even have to pit. It just looks like that was a slight side impact, wasn't it? Is it running? Still got an engine and 4 wheels. Looking good. Let's have a little bit of look at Parkinson here, because despite the fact he's got back in the hunt, he's got Martin right behind him now, not in class as well. So again, if Martin, what's he running? 221.2, and Parkinson's last lap was 222.5. So Glenn's move here might be to let him past and try and stick with him. That might be where the smart money is. But yeah, even with 40 minutes to go, still a possibility, isn't it? He can get pulled back up through the field. Sullivan has a slight incident, and who knows what happens from now. Can't read the future though. I'm trying to. Centre's had a big moment there. Whoa, in the Lexus. What actually happened? Let's go back 15 seconds. I can't quite see, where is he on track? Oh, back end just came right round there, probably still touching on the brakes, trying to take the speed off. A little bit too much. Now it's getting all snaky. Look at that, but he's back on track, he's in one piece. The car looks fairly undamaged as well at the moment, so it's not too bad. Let's have a look at our leader then. So Steve Howes, after 8 completed laps, has got a 4 seconds. So he's a bit, like I say, it's about half a second a lap. Well, he was half a second a lap quicker than Giles, but Giles is not in the mix now. He's running P19. Bailey's in P2, 4.2 behind. So yeah, not an insurmountable gap, but Steve looks like he's racing well. He's on his own. He looks pretty comfortable. Bailey's still got Cutler chasing him down, but not quite as close as he has been. He's 0.8 behind now to about a second behind. So yeah, the gaps are there. Wilson must have made a couple of errors because he's 6 seconds behind Cutler now. Just nip back to there. I'm not sure what happened between. I was saying Parkinson possibly needed to let. It was Martin pass, wasn't it? Martin is now. Yeah, he's a 1.5 seconds ahead of him, so he's got past him at some point. I missed it. But he's not able to stay with him just yet, so maybe get his pace back. If he can get within 0.7, he can benefit from the slip on a 2 long straights. Crashes, many crashes. Oh, karting, right. Yeah, welcome back from karting. You have missed, yeah, Craig, it's hard to keep up with. Whereas last night, the people battling for the championship kept it bumper to bumper for the entire race to keep it interesting and followable for me. The guys tonight have had quite a few incidents and got really mixed up in the positions on track. So, for example, Parkinson in Pro-Am qualified top of Pro-Am, but got involved in a lap 1 incident that pushed him back. Then we had Phil Giles at the front chasing Steve Howes, and he had a big wipeout on O'Regien Radion and slammed it headfirst into the wall, so he had to drive the entire lap and then get into the pits. So the guys who in the tables for the championship were running P's like P1, 2, 3, 4 in each were super close at the end of quali, but it's completely mixed up now in the race. The closest championship battle on track, I guess, now is between P2, 3 and 4 on track in the pros, because Bailey here ahead of Cutler and ahead of Wilson, P2, 3 and 4 in the championship are let me look. Bailey's on 342, Cutler's on 344, and where is Wilson's P11, so he's not in the mix, not in that race. So between Bailey and Cutler to get P2 in the championship, if things stand as they are, Steve Howes would need to drop to sort of P8 or 9 for either of those two to take the win, as in the championship win. So at the moment it's looking good for Steve Howes. It's looking like a fight over second place, first runner-up, to between Cutler and Bailey. Then we've got Wilson, and then Sullivan is leader in class in P5 in the race, and he is leader in the Pro-Ams as well, as in the championship. His nearest competitor, Parkinson, was right up there, but had got mixed up in a lap 1 incident that I didn't quite see where he was in it, but he was definitely part of it. Which means we don't unfortunately have the joy of that battle on track this evening, unless Sullivan makes a mistake or Parkinson starts pulling out some seriously fast times, because the gap's not coming down just yet. Roger Dismuke's P3 in the championship, and now is P2 in class on track, so could get himself second place in the Pro-Am Championship. That was the best I could do, Thomas. I'm trying to keep track of it all, but yeah, that's it's useful to understand where we are. So yeah, with the double points as well, you have to look at it and say, you know, a position on track is worth like 10 points in a championship rather than the usual 5. So yeah, it's happening. Yeah, getting moderately better at following what the hell's going on track, he says. There are big gaps on track at the moment, nothing that super close to be following. If you just have a look at Cutler, and we'll manufacture some false excitement by going onto bonnet cam, because it still sounds awesome, doesn't it, that car? Let's have a listen whilst I open my beer. Uh, 35 minutes to go. It's worth mentioning Roger Dismuke's having a fantastic race. He's P7. He's second in Pro-Am. Kurt's the only guy in Pro-Am who's doing a better job. And arguably had less hassle at the start, because I think Roger had to weave his way through that incident at the top of the hill on lap 1. Roger is being chased down though by McKillop in the different classes. We've seen this already, that he's had a nibble at Roger a couple of times. And this is another one of those situations where now that Murray has dropped back from the back of McKillop, just here, he's now over 5 seconds behind McKillop. Roger could let McKillop go and just remove that risk and still finish P2 in class and still P2 potentially in the championship as well. So let's just see. It looks like McKillop, from what we've seen, he just later on the brakes and tighter into the corner than Roger. See if he does it here. If I was in Roger's car in VR looking in the rearview mirror, I'd be very nervous. No, he's not close enough here, but let's see what he does at the end of the main straight if he gets closer. To be fair, Roger's got the car under him. McKillop's taken a lot of curve there, so he's lost a bit of time. So yeah, the gaps are all a second or above now. It's settling down. It's more like a sort of first stint of an endurance, isn't it? Before everyone starts lapping everyone. I was going to mention, yeah, multi-class tomorrow. We'll go to we're going to do Nürburgring, and we're going to just do them as a series of one-off races. If I set up a championship, it forces you all into one car for every race. So don't really want that, because what we like the idea of is if you fancy driving GT4 or GTC for an evening, just turn up in that, And then next week you could drive GT3, you could drive the, drive the Ferrari for a week, drive the Macca for a week. So it's just a bit of fun. So rather than accumulating points and calling it a championship, we're just going to do a longer series, maybe another 5 races of multi-class. Seems to get a lot of guys on track, which is fantastic. Even though we're in the summer holidays, still getting a lot of people on track, which is fab. And I personally love the idea of just going, oh, what do I fancy driving tonight? I think I'll take the Ferrari Challenge for a spin around the Hungaroring ring. No, that would be suicide. But, oh, McKillop had a big moment there coming out of Speaker's Corner. So, yeah, it gives Roger that bit of breathing space. He caught it. It was a good catch. Hello Kitty lives to fight another day. Like his line through there though, that's good. Right, what's happening? Let's move down the track a little bit. Let's have a look at our friend Glenn, see what he's doing on track. He's still 5 seconds behind Martin. The gap up to Sullivan now is looking pretty insurmountable unless Sullivan makes mistakes. About 15 seconds, maybe more, 20 seconds. So big gaps opening up on this field now, and he's really just looks a bit lonely out there for him, doesn't it? Going around with his little minion friends. But yeah, not super close on track just there, whereas this is the closest battle. As much as Alex North here is Roger is he's a pro-am in a pro sandwich. Just having a sip of it, it's nice. Brewdog Hazy Jane this evening, ladies and gents. Likes a hazy IPA, me. Apparently I snore like a bastard when I drink them. It's marvellous. Good. Oh, wow. Okay, Cutler. Let's go back 30 seconds because Bailey's clearly made an error. Something has happened and Cutler has taken him. So let's have a look what happened here. That probably focus on Bailey, but oh, see there, he had a big squirm. Back end's gone round. He's completely spun it. I think he would have got back on track, but that gave Cutler the place. So Bailey now down in P4 because the gaps are quite big. He's actually still doing okay, and a big old gap now behind him to Kurt Sullivan, who's leading Pro-Am. So yeah, Chris Wilson as well taking advantage there too. Something's happened here for McKillop. Let's just go back 15 seconds. I think he tried to make the move on Roger. Let's see how that worked out. Oh, see, oh no. Oh, thank God, Roger's still in one piece. So McKillop there trying to give Roger as much room as possible by taking the alternative track, also known as the off track. Got all 4 wheels, I think, up on the curbs in the grass, and I think bottomed out the car, and it just sort of like aquaplaned, concrete planed into the side of Roger's car. Luckily it was a proper side-side impact, so it didn't spin Roger, but just pushed him out. Thank you, Derek. I'm pleased with my choice of beer. And what makes Hazy Jane IPA taste even better is when it's club card price reduced to £5 for 4. To the point where you buy 2 packs of it and then wish you'd taken a bag to Tesco's because you're too tight to buy one. So you end up walking back with your hands full, and then your wife goes, "Where's the bread?" And you say, "Well, I couldn't carry the bread because I was carrying this incredibly cheap beer." And that's the way it goes. A 2-pack. Yeah, a 2-pack for sure to go. Yeah, so 8 tins will last me a good few days. Actually, I barely drink these days, but I promised myself last night, being an hour-long race, I would definitely have a beer for this one, because last night got halfway through and I thought, really need a beer. Don't usually really need a beer, but it was just a long way, a long race. Bailey now, as much as he went round, obviously he took no damage, didn't spin into Cutler, which is fortunate, and he's catching Wilson back up. So I think he still fancies P3 tonight. Thank you very much. Wilson is not competing with him in the championship. They're not close on points, so Bailey will still finish ahead of Wilson in the championship. But I think probably he's just trying to make up that lost time. Will try and get ahead of him on track. He certainly had the pace on him. He was what was it, over 5 seconds ahead of him when he spun. So yeah, any excuse to look at that Porsche livery as well before the end of the season is fine. It's a good looking car. I mean, look at it, looking good. It's not me barking, it's dog outside. What's happened there, Mr. Murray? Going back 15 seconds. Oh, he's gone up. He's gone off. He's trying to take the same line as it's right up the curbs. What on earth happened there? Oh, I can't tell you what happened there. I mean, that's a very unusual place to lose the back of the car, isn't it? It looked like he just spun up the back of the car, and it slowly, casually power slid into the left-hand barrier. But you know, go figure. Maybe he's carrying some damage. I don't quite know what happened there. Very odd. Anyway, back to Chris Wilson. Yeah, so he's holding off Bailey at the moment. Bailey will be looking to get that place back. Cutler's not that far up the road, to be fair. He's yeah, he's only 4 seconds ahead of Wilson. So that spin didn't cost him a bag of time. It just cost him what, 4 or 5 seconds. Because he was only just ahead of Cutler. It's the closest battle on track. What else have we got that's worth having a good look at? Let's have a quick look. So Roger's back here in P2 in class, in P7 on track, and he is 15 seconds behind Kurt Sullivan. So Sullivan is sitting pretty in the Pro-Am category, cruising around in his shiny blue Ferrari with that silly little telescopic aerial on top. Looks like a baby periscope. Don't really get it. And the silly wing mirror. It's a very silly looking car. I know some of you guys absolutely love it. Back of it looks... yeah, we don't talk about that, do we? Anyway, I'm sure it's a lovely car to drive. Roger's there in his proper looking car, in the Porsche. And then Martin close behind him, but different class again. So Martin's in Pro category. McKillop behind them is in Pro category, but we saw he had that clonk with Roger. He's now a few seconds behind. Then we got Parkinson, but he's 7 seconds behind McKillop. So he has made some progress up track. He's got Murray behind him. But yeah, he's not exactly on the coattails of McKillop ahead of him. He needs to be, you know, it doesn't look like, with 25 minutes to go, it doesn't look like he's going to make that time back. It's a good point, Adam, actually. Yeah, sometimes I don't know with the Macca these days if the back end of it just spins up and oversteers the car, but it looked like that, didn't it? Unfortunately, I was on the wrong camera view to hear what the engine was doing, so I couldn't quite tell what it was. Let's just put it down to alien intervention. I think it's probably a sensible choice to say it was some kind of impact of a low-flying, unidentified object. That happened last night, actually, as Ed Brown left the circuit vertically by about 50 feet. That was fantastic. I can't tell track limits. That's what's really annoying on the... it's actually a Assetto Corsa server, by the way. You can't see it. You can only see it when they get the drive-through. Unless I miss something, but I don't think you can. I think when you guys are doing endurance, you can see each other's... No, I think even then you can't, can you? You have to ask your teammate if what track limits they're on until you take over the car. So I don't think, regardless of what view I go into, I don't think I can see track limits for any of these drivers. So there you go. Even if I go inside the car, there's no view of track limits for me. Okay, so Parkinson there, Murray just behind him. So Parkinson, for all his efforts as well, and I know he had a disaster at the start, but he's P3 in class tonight, so he's on the podium tonight. That'll be small consolation for him when he was in the hunt for the championship and made every effort I know to get back tonight to make this race and make quali in particular, but he thought he was going to miss. See, that's another Maka doing funny things. That was the same Maka doing funny things, wasn't it? That was odd. What did actually happen? Let's watch it from a different perspective. See what he does. Yes. So he just spins up on the curbs, doesn't it, at the back end? So it's probably low TC. Saves it again, but it's, you know, low speed exit and it just spins around. Oh, that's not good. Okay, we're fine, we're fine. Don't panic. Don't panic. Let's just have a little look here, because Bailey again, I would have thought he would have been challenging for a second. Really deep there, the Porsche, so this is Bailey's chance. Has he got the momentum, get onto straight, power down? Is he going to switch to the inside and go for a late lunge, or is he just going to wait for the hill? Oh, he's letting go. Either he's letting go or they just ran very wide. No, he's not letting go, has he? Because he's challenging him again now. Oh, this could be interesting. Okay, I'll stay on Helicam. I wouldn't want to run that close to him here. As predicted, no aero, off track. We're going to see a bit of weaving. Nope, they're both playing fair. Look at that, even though he's got the draft, he's not able to... Oh, had to go deep there. Adam, that looks familiar. It looks like some of your break-in from last night. We've had to run wide a couple of times to avoid disaster. Anyway, Bailey's got back past, but unfortunately, because he's taken that amount of time to do so, Cutler's now 6.4 ahead of him. So he's not going to catch Cutler. What does that mean for the championship? It means at current standings and without stewards, Steve Hulse finishes first. Cutler was already in P2 in championship. He will stay in P2 unless Bailey can take him on track and catch up at that time. He is going to finish third on in championship, third in the race, third in championship. So the position they're currently in on track, despite all the chaos that's gone on, is the position they'll finish in the championship at this rate. Phil Giles was doing a great job until things unwound for him in P4 in championship, but of course he had that massive off at Eau Rouge, which was horrendous for him. But yeah, at the moment, so we got Howells is championship leader as things stand, and will be winning the championship by a chunk of points, 50 odd points, 50, 80 points, and will be coming and joining racing on Monday night next season. Welcome, Steve Howells. And did a 2:19.5. That was earlier in the race, wasn't it? He's just, what's he doing now? 2:20, 2:22 last night. He's just cruising now. Okay, Cutler in P2, fair chunk behind him as you can see on track. He's running 2:21's best lap 2:19.9, and then Bailey in P3 arguably does not have quite the pace that Cutler has to catch. So unless Cutler makes an error, this is looking like the championship finish places for these guys as well. What else have we got on track that's moderately close? I'll just focus on that whilst I talk about the Pro-Ams. So yeah, Alex North there in the Lambo in P6 with Martin just behind him in class, racing in class as well. I'll just focus on that for a second whilst we talk about... Let's have a decent view actually. Let's do manufactured excitement view. There's manufactured excitement! So yeah, as I said, Kurt Sullivan sitting pretty, P5 on track and lead of class and lead of championship in the Pro-Ams. Roger P2 in class and potentially P2 in the championship. Parkinson is P3 in class, but will likely finish there for, I think, let's have a look at P3 in championship. It is hard to work out. No, he's going to finish P2 in championship. So Parkinson, despite absolute disaster, he has now made it up to P10 in the race. Let's have a little look at him. He's on his own here. But just to talk about him whilst we're watching him. So he's got back to P10. He's a fair few seconds off catching Roger, about a lot of seconds. He's a lot of seconds off catching Roger, 10 seconds. But crucially, getting back to P3 in class means he gets enough points to stay ahead of Roger, even though he's on track. He'll stay ahead of Roger in the championship, finish P2 in championship. Small consolation when he was battling for P1 and had qualified first in class for this race. I get that. He's going to be gutted, but at the same time he can be pretty proud of performance he's put in this evening despite his misfortune at the start of the race. So credit to you, Glenn. Good racing and good comeback drive. Put your P3 in class, which is going to be good enough for P2 in the championship. We have to look at what consolation prize we can send you for that if it finishes up that way. Looking at Bailey now, he's got nearly his second on Wilson, but he's by no means dropped him. Then it's a big old gap, 25 seconds back to Sullivan, who's leader in class for Pro-Am. Martin and North a bit close here. Go wing cap. Let's just show him the front of his car there in the mirrors, Martin. Let him know he's there. Bus stop. Martin got very good. It looked like a good exit there, but then North got the traction down, didn't he? So he's again showing in the inside. Is he going to stay there or pop back in? He's going to stay there. He's not. He's gone up the inside. Oh, he almost nipped him there. I think he backed out of that the last second, but certainly looking really racy is Martin. It's a good battle. Back on bonnet cam for a bit. Let's just have some noise. Running on some good line through there. He's definitely well within draft. A little bit of curb there with his tiny bit of speed. A little bit of the grass. Can I see what he's doing by he's filling his mirrors? Oh, he's gone deep as well, North. He's just got spooked. Martin's almost done the same in sympathy, hasn't he? But he stayed ahead. So Alex North there, obviously it worked. Strat worked. It's bold strat. Stick his nose out nice and early. So I would have expected him to draft for a little bit longer just to really let him know that he's properly alongside. But he wasn't really alongside. Either Alex North ran deep or just felt that Martin was there and he didn't want to have a clash. Commentator's curse always, Gary Barham. You know that. It's almost the gift that keeps on giving, the commentator's curse. I can literally, I mean, I congratulated Glenn Parkinson for making it to quali and putting it on pole and wished him a good, safe, clean race. And then he got knocked back. So, you know, it's what you do, isn't it? It's GT3 as best bands. Probably actually, if you wish anyone a good race at GT3, it probably doesn't happen for most people, unless your name's Steve Howells. To see, I think it'd be interesting to see how he goes with the Group 1 next season. Dan, yeah, the Tash. I could work hard at a Tash, Dan. I could work hard at it. I could grow a Tash for an entire month. And if you met me at the pub, you might say, oof, you're not shaved for a few days. Look like you might need a shave. That's about as good as it gets. Ian Rokes had another incident which meant Payne's just got ahead of him. Don't know what happened there. Someone's getting out of the way. Oh gee, Roke went with him and then again oversteered. So put the power down and went off track. Photo, sorry, didn't happen. I said I could take a photo, you still wouldn't see it. That's what she said, apparently. Bailey and Wilson still line astern. I wasn't expecting that. I thought Bailey would have pulled out the gap by now. But then the Porsche, if it gets slip on this track, it suddenly makes it a fair chunk quicker, doesn't it? Because it's sectors 1 and 3. It's not uber fast. But once he gets slipstream, he can probably take advantage of that in those two sectors. And as you can see here in sector 2, around fast corners, definitely got better speed. Better speed than that Ferrari at the moment. So yeah, it looks, to be fair, he could have a nibble back at him at some point. It's looking pretty racy. Just go nip to this. Murray's gone into the pits. Is there any particular, I think base, I don't know. Maybe he's had another off. Was it him we just watched a minute ago? Had another off. He's had a couple of knocks, hasn't he? So yeah, not great for him. He's going to get back to Wilson on a bonnet camp. Oh, that just happens all the time, doesn't it? There we go. Oh, he's very deep on the brakes. Stops it. We had a couple of people last night very deep on the brakes there, and again taking the alternative track layout that nobody really knows, which is off at the end of that straight. Missed the first corner entirely and then come back over the sausage curb. Often doesn't end as well as you might think. In fact, it probably ends as well exactly as you might think. So yeah, honestly, looking at the track now, we've got 12 minutes to go. I can't show you a closer battle than this. Everyone's looking at gaps of a second or above. That's the way to take that, you know, as much as humanly possible. So yeah, not as fast in sector 1, but this is probably where he's making his time. That Ferrari doesn't look quite tucked in there, does it? There's a Porsche really pulls around there nicely. Right up on the apex there, good line. Okay, Bailey maybe just starting to make that gap work now. He's 1.3, which has broken the toe crucially to Wilson. So if he can just maintain that onto the back straight, then maybe he can break free of that threat. Like I said, Wilson's not running near the top 3 in the championship, so this is not really Bailey's battle here. He doesn't really want to be hammer and tongs with Chris. As much as it's good fun on track, it's not going to affect the championship. It'll only damage his race if he gets mixed up. Yeah, and again it's up to 1.4 now, so definitely broken that toe. If he gets it right in the bus stop, I think we're again looking for closer gaps on track. Again, Chris really late on the brakes there, but can't quite get it. It's not bad on the power. So still within a second. Let's just watch him throw a region rally on them or nip to somewhere else on track. Oh, Bailey's made a mistake there, hasn't he? Had to lift, I think. Don't think Chris is going to get... Again, just showing him he's there. I don't think he's going to get back to him. I think there's a back marker ahead of him. It looks to me like Bailey's... Maybe his tyres are just... Well, we are really close to the end of the race, and a lot of people last night really struggling with tyres in the last 10 minutes. Rich Gasol in particular was saying his really tyres went completely in that Lambo towards the end of the race. Dan Moffat nearly got him. Obviously looked after his tyres really well in the Beamer, did a great job and made a super competitive, super close end to that race. Yeah, it looks to me as if Wilson could take that place back here if he's feeling spicy. Just watch this for a little longer. Although at this point Bailey's going to get the slip as well, isn't he, from the back mark in front? Although he's looking like he's backing out. Oh, he's out of the way. Distracted both of them then, didn't it? Okay, let's go down the pack just a little bit here, because I don't think this is well, commentator's curse if I say that. This looks like it's... No, he's gone! It is pure commentator's curse. That is a disaster for Bailey. can't believe that. Let's just go back 30 seconds. I just think he lost it under... he caught some curve, didn't he? He got really distracted there. He's come along the main straight. Oh, that is a disaster for Bailey. We'll see where he is on track in a second, but hopefully, I don't know, he looked like he hit the wall pretty hard there. Massive amount of curve there, lost the back end of the car. Inside, oh no, that is a big front impact. I wouldn't be surprised if he's 9 minutes to go. If he can just get the car around, he wouldn't want to pit. No, he's not pitted. He's kept it on track. Let's just see how that car's behaving. Oh, looks like a handful. There's a lot of correction in the steering going on there. What a nightmare. He's still running P4. Remember, Wilson wasn't competing with him for the championship. So Wilson being a place ahead of him should not be bothering him. Oh, it looks like he's still got good top end in the car though. It's just whether it's going to go left or right. Let's have a little bit of a look and see how he gets on. So he's taking good line through that. Oh, it looks... yeah, I don't know. Looking twitchy, isn't it? Looking twitchy. I think he's probably just going to be getting a lot of understeer because that was a full front impact, wasn't it? So that was a complete nightmare. Yeah, how's the curse? Exactly. The curse is strong in this one. Proper curse. But I'm going to have to apologise to Bailey, aren't I, for that? Nothing's happening here. It's status quo smash. That's the end of that. But crucially for Bailey, does not affect his championship. He still finishes on the podium in the championship if he holds that position. Is that right? Am I talking crap? Let's have a little look. No, he still finishes there because Giles is not close. Trowbridge is not here. Alex North is the closest behind him. Then it's North, Hopkins, Flack and McKillop. And if we look in the race, North is P7 and two places behind him in class as well. So unless there's another 15-20 second incident, he's not under threat. So he's just got to make it to the end of the race now, which I think is probably, once his heart rates come down, is probably where he's at with it. Let's have a little bit of a look at the front because we haven't for a while. Steve Howells then sitting pretty. The gap's at 5.7, but he's not had to work too hard. His last lap, his last lap was registering as 2:22, which I can't quite believe. Last time I looked, it was a 2:22 as well. He must have done some faster ones in between. Cutler's 5.9 behind him at the moment, but it's a comfortable gap, isn't it? I mean, we're talking 3 laps to go. So it's a comfortable gap. Wilson, courtesy of commentators Curse helping him out, is back in P3. I think, to be fair, he probably would have got it anyway, just would have rather have done it without Bailey ripping the front end of his car off. Bailey is now 18 seconds behind him there, but crucially, he's only lost 1 place on the track because the gaps be big. Kurt doesn't look like he's eased off. Let's have a look at his times. Last lap 2:23, average 2:20, best 2:22. So no, I don't think he's backed off, even though he's got the Pro-Am Championship wrapped up. I think he's just enjoying the track, maybe. Maybe he's looked after those tyres too, who knows. But I mean, yeah, he's not storming round, but at the same time, he has got a very big gap to Roger, who is closest behind him as well. Roger's in P9. Just jump back there, have another little look at Roger's car. Sandwiched in between those two, although it's a very open sandwich, not very tightly packed, is Martin, P6, Alex North, P7, Andrew McKillop, P8. Hello, Kitty. And yeah, Roger. Then Glenn Parkinson has done a good job. He's kept it in P10, but he's 10 seconds behind Roger, so there's no chance of him catching Roger at this point. I'm not going to say anything more than that. I'm not going to curse anyone else. Benny Himes had a very quiet race. He is a long way behind this group. Basically, P11 onwards, for some reason, we've ended up with nearly a 50-second gap between P10 and P11. So I think between the various incidents that we've kind of covered this evening, it's created a very big gap midfield, and then back from there, there's some pretty open gaps. Southwell and Keith Moore having a good ding-dong, even though Keith's Pro-Am, Southwell's in the Pro category. But Keith looks like he's having a pretty good race, and he's actually running 5th in class this evening as well. And despite picking up that damage earlier on a Doddy livery there. So yeah, he's having a good race, and I think he's probably enjoying being in the slip of Alan in front of him. So yeah, good on him. Of course, the old Macca, because we've not allowed car changes for this mid-season, have we? So nobody in the new Macca yet. I don't know if there will be for the next season. But yeah, Keith's giving him a good run for his money there. I missed that sound. I know you're talking today about getting bored of it, but I love that V10 noise. I'm like, who was it who said it? Find it quite soothing. I'll go on, Keith. He's just, yeah, he's. In fact, yeah, they are, aren't they? They're being lapped. They are back markers now. So Keith just getting out of the way. I wonder if he'll be able to take advantage though when Cutler goes through Southwell. The curse. Behold the curse. Oh, Southwell's meant. I don't know, Keith's going to be polite. Yeah, he's going to let him go. Fair play to you, Keith. But, yeah, you don't need to let anyone else pass, Alan. You're alright there. Now he's getting his foot down there. Go on, Keith. Audi power, come on. Alright, Desi. Nice to see you. Just everyone steer clear of this left-hander. It seems to somebody's spilt oil on it this evening. Keith backed off there as well. I reckon that damage he got earlier has meant he's having to go slow. Not letting someone through. No. Leader is on the final lap. That leader being Mr. Howes. I'll just stick with this at the moment because it's the closest thing on track. Gaps are pretty big apart from that, and I'll cut back to the leaders as they finish their final lap, but pretty much done deal. Yeah, Keith being really cautious here. I don't know what's going on. He must be carrying a fair chunk of damage. What lap's he doing? Yeah, man, these two are carrying a load of damage, aren't they? I mean, the best laps are mid-220s, which is alright. But last couple of laps they've been in the 230s. Yeah, Keith having to... He must be... That car must be wrecked. To have to drop that much speed in 5th, I don't know, or he's just given up, I don't know. But yeah, he's come right off the pace now. Let's have a look at our man, Steve Howes. Just talk about his driving this season as well. So we've teased him a lot, and you know, rightly so. And let's continue. Let's rib him completely. So Sandbagger Howes here, all fair play to him, has driven brilliant this season. And let's be slightly fairer to him than that. Might be fuel saving, you're right actually. There's a couple last night, we got the extra lap, didn't we? Which caught, we don't talk about it anymore if Richard Cook's here because, you know, PTSD. But yeah, it does happen. People run out of fuel. But yeah, Steve Howes, we've joked about his pace, but it's race pace. In quali, 2 or 3 other people have been up there and able to compete with Steve. It's not as if this championship has not had competitive racing. McKillop's got a drive-through. Hello Kitty has got a drive-through in P8. I don't think it's going to affect too much in the championship. But yeah, Steve Howes in race trim is just clearly a very experienced driver in race trim and is able to put it in the right place on the track. In the most part, stay out of trouble and you know, not get mixed up in any shenanigans. Gary, I didn't get permission for shenanigans, but he's driven brilliantly in the races. His quali pace is fast, but it's not stupid fast. There are other people in Group 2 that have been able to quali the same pace as him. But when it comes to the race, after the first few laps, if he's got the chance to put the foot down, he's been absolutely brilliant. So congratulations, Steve Howes. You've driven fantastically. Worthy winner of the championship and by a significant margin as well. Justin Cutler, you've come home in P2 in the race and P2 in the championship, I think, as well. And well done to you. In fact, fantastic looking Aston. Hopefully we still see a few of those next season. And Wilson in the Porsche there, bringing it home in P3 tonight. Bailey looking like it's got a significantly remodelled front end. In fact, I prefer the back end of that Ferrari like that. It looks more entertaining. But yeah, coming home in P4 despite significant incident in the race, still had the gap at that point in the race. But big shout out to Kurt Sullivan. Didn't get wrapped up in the Pro-Am category at the start of that race in the mess that went on. I can't remember exactly what happened, but Glenn Parkinson did. Kurt Sullivan didn't. Pulled out a huge gap over the rest of the Pro-Am category and has brought it home in first place for the race and for the Pro-Am Championship. Roger Dismukes has come home in P9, which is P2 in class. Fantastic drive for him as well, which brings him home, I believe, P3 in Championship. And Glenn Parkinson, despite difficult start to the race, very difficult start to the race, has brought it home in P9, I think, or P9 or 10, I think we might have lost some people. But crucially, keeps him in P2 in the Championship, means he finishes P2 in the Championship just behind Kurt Sullivan. So fantastic work, brilliant racing all round. Yeah, shout out to everybody that finished the race tonight and stayed on track. It's been great racing there. It wasn't super close. We had some really close finishes last night. That's funny. Good luck in Group 1. Oh yeah, good luck in Group 1 to Steve in the chat. Yes, welcome. Come closer, Steve Howells. Some people in Group 1 would like to meet you. To be fair, he's raced against most of us because he turns up to the Friday events quite a lot. So we know his pace. We know how consistent he is as well in the race as well. Like you said, you know, I might pip him in quali, but I think in a race, in race conditions, he's just nerves of steel, I reckon. So yeah, sounds like he's going to do very well for himself next season as well. But let's stick in the moment. 2:19.5 best lap. He qualified second, so he doesn't get that extra point. Honourable mentions to Phil Giles, who did get that point at the start of the race, but obviously had that massive off that meant he finished further down the grid, and obviously compromised his ability to finish well in the pro category of the championship. But that's about it. That's all she said. That's all she wrote. What we have, return to garage. Can't change it from there. Just want to focus on Steve Howells there, just to finish. So Steve Howells, worthy championship winner. Fantastic work. Good on you. Right. So there we go. It was sweaty, I bet. But good racing. Well done, everybody. So, yeah, thank you again for doing a cracking job in Group 2. Did yourself proud. There's a little bit of carnage at the start. I'm sure a few people will be sharing their replays later, which will be entertaining for a few. But yeah, apart from that, and again, I think everyone after that start was able to continue. The worst murders were self-inflicted. There were some big spins, some very high-speed spins and slips and crashes. So a few barriers got remodeled as well as a few cars. But great race, great championship. I think the split formats worked really well. So again, thanks to Colin for going with that this season. I think it's a lot of effort to get people in the right groups. There's a couple of people in the splits that weren't perfect, but there were a couple of shuffles in the season, which you can do, and it's worked out really well. Some really competitive racing, and it's meant that there's been some battles right through each group, and it's worth fighting for because the Pro-Am categories certainly were really close as well in both groups. So that's fantastic stuff. Anyway, I'll stop talking crap now. I've had my Hazy Jane's gone. Can't see it because I'm using a black outfit there. Nice. It was very nice, but it is gone now. Anyway, thanks for watching. For those guys interested in the multi-class tomorrow, like I said, it's going to be individual races, not championships, so you can swap car every week and just have a laugh in whatever you fancy driving. Nürburgring tomorrow night. Come along, should be a good laugh. I will not probably be able to make it because I'm going on a delightful day trip to Centre Parks where my family are already. I decided I couldn't cope with the entire week, but I said I'd go for a day as a token effort. Does that make me a good or a bad dad? I don't know. Probably bad. Probably a bad dad. Anyway, and then we'll have the draw for the Friday as usual on Friday. I know Colin's getting the new Sunday championship set up too. And then we'll be starting all the way back to the start. We'll be starting Group 1 and 2, Season 4, before you know it. It'll only be a few weeks, I think. A couple of weeks. I'm not sure what Colin's in chat, he can tell us. But yeah, we'll hopefully get those people signed up for that. Get the groups really close, really competitive again as they have been this season. And have a good time. So thanks very much for coming. I'll catch a lot of you in chat and whatever. Thanks for watching and chatting, and see you all